Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking. It means a lot that you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And I think one thing that makes seasons really, really good is a really dumb move. China has James getting voted out with 2 idols. Micronesia has Eric giving up immunity. Heroes vs. Villains has JT's letter. Kagiyan has Wu taking Tony to the end. So if dumb moves make a season good, then we might have the greatest season in the history of universes, of peoples, of ever, because this Vati tribe is something else. Between Mike, Chanel, and worst of all, Daniel, this tribe puts the oopid in stupid. So today I want to go through this tribe and just show you how dumb they've been in these first 3 episodes. Will be going from least dumb to most dumb, so that is going to be the order. And ironically to start, Lydia, the worst player on this tribe on paper, and the most socially removed player on this tribe due to her age, is the player that I have the least negative to say about. Now, obviously, she hasn't gotten a big edit, but she's doing better physically than I thought she would. She was able to solidify a #1 ally that was willing to go to rocks for her on day 7, which is more than I can say for the other 2 women on this tribe, in Jenny and Chanel, since Jenny couldn't trust her ally to draw rocks for her, and Chanel just had her #1 ally betray her live at tribal council. So good on Lydia. Hai is the other one on this tribe that hasn't done anything super dumb aside from not eating for 5 days. Like, you might want to make that decision before you go out in the game. But besides that, he was my MVP last episode, taking advantage of Daniel's paranoia to get him to flip over and avoid a rock draw, which at worst takes the clear majority away from Daniel, Jenny, Mike, and Chanel, and at best just gained him a 3-1 majority over Chanel and Mike. We'll just have to see where Daniel goes next episode. Not to mention that last vote, he wasn't even the target of that vote, even when his alliance of him and Lydia was being targeted. So he's doing at least okay physically to stay out of that easy vote target, which is now fallen onto Lydia. So barring a successful idol play from Mike, I think Hai is the safest player in this game. Now we start to get really, really stupid with Mike. And so if we're going to be talking on paper, the dumbest player here is Mike. It's Mike, 100%. But lucky for Mike, Daniel and Chanel both had terrible last episodes. So considering the severity of his action compared to their actions, I think it's pretty comfortable to put him here before Chanel and Daniel. So where do we start? 1, he literally lost his own idol, or almost lost his own idol twice. Or no, sorry, he lost them and then found them, thank God. With one of them being directly his fault for not remembering where he buried it, and the second time being sort of his fault for giving his advantage to someone as dumb as Daniel, as we'll talk about later. Also, this is just my opinion, but I personally would never take a beware advantage. I just think it's not worth it. Now, I understand that he didn't exactly know what it was going to be, but it was still a bad choice. He made the risk, and it didn't pay off for him or his alliance as far as how last tribal went, with him not having a vote and therefore causing all of this crazy stuff to happen. Chanel. Now, I know that a lot of people think that Chanel was dumber than Daniel last episode, with their main argument being that Chanel would have never made it in this situation, and Daniel would have never been able to do all of the dumbassery that he did last tribal if Chanel had not risked her vote, which is 100% true and valid. That the way that she handled this summit it was terrible. First off, she didn't even seem to try and make an alliance, let alone even have a half-ass cross tribal deal with Omar, or a final 3 deal with Omar and his allies, which to me is always worth a shot and can always help later on at the merge to make those small connections and small deals. And then on top of that, she tells Omar that she needs her vote for the upcoming tribal, but then risks her vote anyway, when she knows that the dilemma that her and Omar are about to face is all about risking one's vote, since Jenny told the tribe the truth about Shipwa Island according to Jenny's exit interviews. So either she meant what she said when she told Omar that she needed her vote, and then when being faced with her dilemma changed her mind, which would be terrible gameplay, as she should be able to put 2 and 2 together and figure out that Omar will risk his vote based off of her earlier comments, or she lied to Omar, which makes even less sense, because Omar believing that lie results in a negative outcome for her, which is what ended up happening. So, I feel like, some people are saying that Daniel was trying to play the double agent with her at Tribal when he quote unquote called her out and seemingly betrayed her at Tribal, really just trying to get in with Hai and Lydia and help him and Chanel out in case Jenny went home, instead of what it seemed like, which is that he just simply betrayed her in a spot of paranoia. But I don't buy that, as he never warned her about this quote unquote plan in any way. So I won't fault Chanel for reacting the way that she did when Daniel threw her under the bus and blamed his own vote as a grown man on her. But I will admit that it didn't really serve for any, good things. It really didn't help her chances of reconnecting with him after Tribal very well, now that she fought back to what may have been like, quote unquote, a plan. Although to me, I just don't see Daniel doing that, because if that's his big plan, it's really not really a good one. Speaking of Daniel, lastly, we have Daniel. So where to begin? At Tribal, we see Daniel exclaim that he will not win Survivor 42 because he's too paranoid. And when Jeff asked Daniel who is able to calm him down, Daniel says only Mike and Jenny, and also his mom, which is kind of stupid. But it visibly makes Hai extremely suspicious of Daniel's loyalties. We then see some whispering between Hai and Lydia, where Hai calls off the split vote plan, which Chanel put in place to displace their votes. So now Daniel messed up the only backup plan, to avoid all of the craziness that would later ensue by talking too much and saying the wrong things. Once the vote is deadlocked, Daniel and Hai start deliberating, and Daniel starts the discussion by making a big mistake, exclaiming to Hai that he does not want to go to Rocks on day 7, which Hai will later use against him in a way. Daniel blames Chanel for, quote, telling Lydia to vote, or telling him to vote Lydia, even though Daniel tells us that he wants to vote Lydia throughout the entire episode. He repeatedly does this throughout Tribal 2, betraying his number one ally several times. And this led Daniel and Chanel to argue for a bit, where Daniel claims that Chanel has betrayed him in some way, which is absolutely hilarious and not the case at all. It seems like Daniel's panicking about the vote and thinks that he needs to latch on to Hai and Lydia and betray Chanel to save himself, which is just not the case. We then see Hai use what Daniel said at the start of the discussion to his advantage, when Hai tells Daniel that he will not be switching up his vote off of Jenny, putting Daniel in a spot where he has to do what Hai wants, which is to vote Jenny if Daniel goes through with what he wants, which is not going to Rocks. He makes it clear from the start that he does not want to go to Rocks, so Hai uses that against him and makes Daniel flip his vote by staying strong in his own shoes, which of course, obviously Daniel realizes this and asks Hai and Lydia if they will hold him trying to backstab them in the original vote against him, which is a stupid question. Like, obviously they're gonna say no if it means that you switch your vote. Like, it really isn't a valid question that's gonna get like a genuine answer. They're gonna say no 100% of the time, because that's what benefits them, which of course they respond with no, and Daniel flops his vote, sending his probably number 3 ally Jenny home through his and also through his behavior during this Tribal, losing his number 1 and 2 allies. So he loses his 1, 2, and 3 allies in Mike, Chanel, and Jenny. And that's everybody. Who do you think is a dumber player? Daniel, Chanel, Mike? Let me know in the comments. As I always say, none of this happens without you guys. Without you guys, I'm just a weird guy speaking to a weird microphone. So if that's what I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.